Howdy, Aries. Still shuffling your cards. We're trying to. Back at the rider-waite deck today for your reading. It's just going to be a general reading, just to kind of get a sense of the energies that are coming up right now. I don't want to mention the astrology too much, but we are currently on the heels of an upcoming partial lunar eclipse in Pisces, and I don't know about you guys, but I am feeling the shift into weird eclipse liminal space. I've been having paranormal experiences in my own house lately that don't typically happen, or at least not very regularly. So yeah, there's a lot of weird energy around, and even when I go out on my walks and stuff, there's a charge even to natural spaces, like a building up towards something. So I felt compelled to come to the cards for you, Aries, and eventually for everyone else. Try to get a message out, which may have something to do with this eclipse, may not, but whatever the case may be, something wants to come through. Your first card today, Aries, is the Ten of Wands. Yeah, look at that. I like it when it focuses by itself. So that's feeling overwhelmed by circumstances, maybe having taken on too much responsibility, too many projects, maybe even having too many tools and resources available to you for a particular project, and it's kind of overwhelming you and stopping you from moving forward. I think there's a term for that, for when you're so overwhelmed with something that you just don't do anything with it. I think it's usually referred specifically towards watching TV shows that have a lot of episodes or something. Anyway, that kind of sense. Could also be some sort of completion or culmination of sorts. Tens are the culmination points in a way. That is the last decan of Sagittarius as well, so maybe something to keep in mind. But let's see, what's next? We have the Three of Swords in reverse. And that's the middle decan of Libra. With the Ten of Wands, the immediate word that I heard was failure. But specifically in a professional sense. Almost having... I don't necessarily see any authority figures yet, obviously, because I haven't pulled all the rest of the cards. But what I'm seeing is somebody who's at work, whose supervisors had some expectations of them during a work shift or during a series of work shifts, and you're coming up short. You've been so overwhelmed with the workload that you haven't completed anything, or at least that you haven't completed what was expected. And so it's leading to a sense of failure, a sense of you're not good enough. And I don't know if this is something that's being imposed upon you by an outside party, somebody telling you that you're not good enough, or that the work that you're doing isn't cutting it, isn't making the cut, isn't reaching expectations. But it's what are you going to do with that? You're already so overwhelmed. You've taken on so many different projects, only to have this feeling of failure being thrust upon you. I don't really feel like it's arising from within yourself. It's something that came from outside. Interesting. Next card we've got is the Four of Coins in reverse. That's the last decan of Capricorn. If we're going to stay on this imagery of somebody at a job, somebody having not met quota, or like in some fashion having come up short despite all the work that you've taken upon yourself. I feel like there's a material effect, like either you've been fired and lost your paycheck. This is like a very money conscious time, like you're holding on to every last penny that you've got, and you're making sure that you know exactly where every cent is going. And it could be part of this Ten of Wands, like maybe you've stretched yourself too thin. Like I'm also seeing like a caretaker, like somebody who's taking care of someone who's in need and not able to take care of themselves. And that's just like one of the things, one of the projects that you've taken upon yourself. And it's like not even a quarter of what you're already focused on. But because of that strain, that added strain, you know, the purse is tight, like you've closed your wallet in some way. You're keeping track of every expense. I'm sorry, I'm getting like distracted because there's that energy that I keep telling you guys, that I told you guys about at the start of this reading. Like it's been bizarre. I'm trying to ignore it. So let's see what's coming up next. We have the Nine of Cups. That's the middle decan of Pisces. In this context, it's like the figure has been working their off, only to be told that they're not doing it right, or they're not doing enough, and that they're a failure, that they need to take their work elsewhere, something like that. And so money's tight, holding on to resources and trying to make sure that you can support yourself and stay afloat. And if you're in a caretaking position, obviously trying to siphon appropriately for that person's benefit. And then you have the Nine of Cups over here, which is kind of like, you know what? I don't even care anymore. Like, I'm just gonna be here in my own space. I'm gonna appreciate myself even though nobody else is appreciating me for it. And I'm gonna have a drink, or I'm gonna sit and watch a movie, or I'm gonna go outside and go for a hike and sit in the park, have a picnic in the park with myself. Like, this is that energy of like not self-indulgence, self-enjoyment, to kind of detach yourself from all of this. Like I'm seeing somebody sitting on a park bench reading a book and eating a sandwich and like really loving life, just allowing a timeless space where responsibilities and stress about money and stress about, you know, what other people are saying about you, there's this space holding for yourself. I really like this progression from wands to swords to earth, coins to cups. Like, you got all four elements represented here. It's like there's no aspect of your life that's being untouched by your circumstances right now. So next we've got the Eight of Swords. That's the first decan of Gemini. So with this Nine of Cups figure, you know, being that person sitting on a park bench, loving life and disconnecting, trying not to think about all the stuff that's going on in their life, and sitting in a timeless space within time, like a scheduled block of time where you're not aware of what time it is. there's this Eight of Swords figure that's right here. And this is like, to me, it's like a nagging part from the back of your mind. Like, for whatever reason, the image I'm getting in my head is like an octopus and like it inked. And so the ink is like kind of diffusing into the water and making it difficult to see. Like the energy that came to you through this situation, this 10 of Wands, 3 of Swords, 4 of Coins circumstance, this kind of anxiety inducing, stress inducing, overwhelming, exhausting situation, it's tainting your ability to appreciate the space and the time that you set aside for yourself. You know, there is like a stubbornness that I see with the 9 of Cups. Like, it's like kind of like the F it, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna enjoy myself. I don't care what you think or what you say. And that's, you know, that's Aries, of course. But it's like you're not wholly able to allow yourself to do that. I think maybe because of the expectations of others. And I wanted to say a different word, but I saw that, you know, obviously it's the sword, so it's more of like an unspoken or spoken airy type of expression. So I don't see it so much as like obligations or like responsibilities necessarily that are tainting this 9 of Cups space. It's more like the things that people have said to you, or the ideas that people hold in their minds about you that are kind of intruding on your space and intruding on your sense of pleasure. Like, you're not able to enjoy anything. There's always that like bitter taste in the back of your mouth. Those darker thoughts in the back of your mind, and they're kind of like, I'm seeing them like spreading out like the ink of the octopus. Like, there's no avoiding them. Next, we have the 4 of Swords. There we go. I think part of the remedy would be to pursue some sort of meditative practice. Like, I felt compelled to put this card right underneath the 10 of Wands. It's like taking the time to sit and be fully present with yourself and with your thoughts, whether that's sitting on a park bench or doing yoga or actually like in seated cross-legged or otherwise meditation. Some way to really bring yourself back to yourself rather than having yourself so scattered with the 10 of Wands energy being pulled in every which direction, doing so many different things at once. Like recentering yourself, finding a practice that does that for you. Because I feel like it's going to equip you to better fend off these other swords, these expectations and ideas that other people have of you. Because it's not like I don't feel like you're taking them upon yourself in a sense. Like, you're not identifying with the things that people are saying about you or expecting of you, believing of you. But it's still like weighing on you in a sense. It's still invading your personal space, like I was saying. So some sort of centering, grounding practice, I think, will help you. I'm hearing help you fight better. Like, I'm seeing 2 people like fighting, sword fighting. And because you took the time to sit and breathe before the duel commenced, you have an advantage because you're your inner turmoil, or your inner, I heard inner typhoon, the cyclone of thoughts that's usually in your mind is like quiet, and you're able to sense yourself amongst it, and you're able to more clearly perceive the world around you in a calm and fully conscious way. And that puts you at an advantage, not only in terms of being able to act and to balance these different projects, these different these I definitely see as like responsibilities too. But not only being able to balance those, but also being able to guard your own personal energy and defend it from outside attacks, defend it from the outside perceptions. Next up, we have the Star card. This is Aquarius. And next to that Four of Swords is definitely like, there's a need to return to objective awareness. That's kind of how I view Aquarius. I mean, typically it's referred to as being like the collective. In Vedic astrology, it's symbolized by like a pot. And it's like this pot contains the amalgam of reality, or the amalgam of mass consciousness, collective awareness. It's the people in community. So it's interesting. I'm like seeing somebody going to like yoga classes, or like meditation classes, tai chi classes, finding some sort of centering activity, I think, that also comes with a communal aspect to it. Like, it's good to do these practices on your own, but I think in finding groups of people that share your passion or share your interest in grounding, in meditation, in spiritual awareness, is going to help fortify you. Because I feel like for whatever reason, Aries is in kind of like a war zone mentality. Like, I mean, that's a given, being a Mars ruled sign. Like, Aries is always like in a state of war. It's always Aries against the world. But whatever the situation is, it just feels very battle-like. So I think by finding your alliances, finding your people, finding your community, and specifically like sharing practices amongst this community. Like maybe this is like a point of bonding between everyone. It's like the certain practices that they adhere to, the certain ideas or philosophies that they share amongst themselves that offer some sort of inner quieting. Like the specific image I'm getting looking at this is like somebody holding a sword that's on fire, like a flaming sword. And it's like in being in a communal space where everyone is sharing enriching practices with one another, practices that help them feel better and more contained in themselves and more present with their realities in a very relaxed, holistic way. It's like the flames on the sword just kind of like slowly extinguish. And it's not like the power itself that was in the flames is gone, but it's like it's relaxed, it's calmed, and it's returned to its, I wanted to say cocoon, but like returned to its reservoir. And it's not just like ablaze and like being wasted. Return to its reservoir. I mean, with the star, with Aquarius, come on, the pot. Like, I didn't even make that connection until just now. Three of Wands is what we've got next, and that's the second decan of Aries. I feel like this is the person coming out after having found their community, after having found the personal practices that help them to feel centered and empowered. This is that figure now turning out to the world again and being like the not the conqueror. I didn't want to say the conqueror. But looking out to the world as something that provides for you rather than as something that has power over you. Not to say that there aren't forces that are beyond your control, but I mean, this is like the empowered individual who is turning out into the external world and shaping it as they see fit. Like the general directing the movements in the battlefield, or like the king. It's weird. I'm getting like the Christopher Columbus story, like being sent off by the Spanish monarchy to supposedly go and find Asia. There's a lot of holes in that story, but this sense of being the sovereign and directing your outer reality again, like not being overwhelmed by things, but rather being in charge of things, like being, this is kind of like magician type energy to me a little bit. Like through these practices, these Four of Swords practices, this meditation, yoga, whatever it is for you, you've harnessed your personal power, and now you know how to manipulate it in the outer world. Through manifestation, sure, but I think through sheer will. Because that's all that manifestation really is anyway, isn't it? Is will. That's how we create in the world, is by willing it. And will can sometimes require physical activity, movement in order to manifest will. Not always. I mean, I don't want to get into that too much, but this is like the empowered will not feeling like the victim, not feeling like, not that you were ever the victim, but not feeling like it's you against the world. Now it's you on top of the world. Now it's you calling the shots. You know, regardless of what other people used to think or believe of you, now it's you on the top. We have this Eight of Cups in reverse as the next card. That's the first decan of Pisces. And this is like walking away from like material enthusiasm. It's probably not the right way to put it. Let me try my best to convey this. Walking away from attachment to outcomes. You know, it's right under this Nine of Cups right here. And it's like, this is the true, like, I don't care anymore card. Like, you've said this, you believe this, and my truth is none of those things. And you can keep saying what you're going to say, but I'm no longer carrying it with me. And it's like, this is the energy that you were trying to get to, trying to connect with when you're sitting as this Nine of Cups in that chapter of the story, in that portion of the story. But it's like you needed to come through this journey before you could come to really embodying that energy. And so that's why before, when you're trying to slip into that state of mind, it was polluted with all the outside expectations, all the outside gossip, if you will. But it's like, now that you've found your center again, now that you've found your community, now that you've found whatever it is that connects you with your source, your inner power, and you're feeling ready to impart your own will, to press your own seal into the wax, you're able to let go of the old narratives, the old storyline, the old expectations. Okay, the Queen of Wands in reverse next. Could be you. Interesting because of the way that it's oriented, because right above her we have this Eight of Swords, and you remember the story of being kind of polluted and distracted by these things that people are saying or thinking about you, these opinions that they're holding of you. And this Queen of Wands is like, it's like you, but it's the sovereign fire in the underworld is kind of how I'm seeing it. Like, this is a different reality. They are occupying different realities now. And she is the sovereign ruler of this realm, of this underworld. It's contrary to the expectations and opinions of these other people. It's empowerment in spite of them. It's this awareness that, yes, these people will still continue talking and thinking things about me, and I can't control that, but now I don't care, because I'm sitting on my own throne. I'm directing my own movie. I'm in charge of my own energy. Could also be that being in this empowered state, there isn't a lot of like outer change or like visible manifestation of the shift that you've undergone in your mind. Like, there isn't a lot that's changed outside of yourself. Maybe a few people are out of your life, maybe a job's out of your life, but other than that, there's not a lot of change to indicate the inner change that you've gone through. And that's okay. Like, I feel like there's no need for outer confirmation once you reach this state, because the power is within, the change is within. And I'm like seeing her, she's got her staff and she's like banging it on this ground right here, and it's obviously going upstairs, like, shut up, like, I'm not listening to you anymore. Like the noisy upstairs neighbor banging on this, then it's you banging on the ceiling, getting them to stop making such a racket. Like, they need to respect your space. They need to respect your personal choices. Like, you're different individuals and you have different approaches to life, and they need to respect that. Their opinions don't matter. I wanted to draw one more card, and we have the Knight of Wands for you in reverse. And this to me is saying not to rush things. I kind of centered it underneath the three of wands, which is under that 4 of coins right here. And it's like, although you feel empowered again, although you feel centered and in touch with your sense of self, and in touch with your ability to create your reality again, to shape it in a way that you see fit without feeling obligated to other people's perceptions of you. I'm trying to think how to word this. Like, don't embody the typical Aries perspective of just like charging through and like, fuck everyone. I'm just gonna go my own direction and I don't care about consequences. I'm just gonna, bash my horns over everything and break through this gate and don't be too headstrong going into this. Like, take your time, trot along rather than galloping. Like, I'm seeing him specifically like pulling back the reins a little bit to like slow the horse down. I'm also seeing like potential courtship here. Like, it doesn't have to be romantic, but I think there's another figure that once you kind of have gone through this journey and you're sitting in that Queen of Wands energy, there's another figure that comes in who shares your perspective on things. I wanted to say shares your lust for life. Shares your approach in some way. Maybe somebody that you connected to through this community that we were talking about earlier. It's like this person this person has like directed their own movies. I'm hearing like I'm getting really fixated on the pyramids in the background of this card, and I'm like seeing this Knight of Wands as like being the person that like directed the construction. Like, he had the plans in mind and he had the willpower to enact the plan and make it real. That's what the Wands energy is all about, is like manifesting will through tools or otherwise, like whatever, by any means necessary. Directed will. And the potential for partnership in some ways coming through. I do want to get one more card just to kind of elaborate on what that might be. And we have the Fool card. Interesting. I'm going to keep that as like a standalone card, because I feel like this kind of wraps up the entire reading. Gives it a bookend, like you've come through the other side of this journey, and now a new chapter is unfolding, a new part of your life is unfolding. You've I feel like a terrible storm is like blown through, shaking things up a little bit and changed the course of your life, and you've entered into a period of like reflection, a period of like reconnecting with your values and trying to find other people who share those values with you. And now that you're kind of centered in that again, you're feeling able to discern what it is that you want to do with yourself and what it is you want to do with your life and what direction you want to be moving in. And like, you're in that, this is like that period before taking the first step. Like, the world is your oyster. Like, everything is open again. A chapter has ended and now you're ready to move on. It's like it's reading like the end of a movie where there's chemistry between these two people, like the Queen of Wands and the Knight of Wands here. Like there's a certain connection, and you can like see it on the movie screen. Like they're giving each other eyes, and there's like unspoken understanding, but there's no like visual representation of full connection. It's kind of like open-ended, like it can go anywhere, and it's kind of exciting. Like they haven't kissed on screen, they haven't made any deals or agreements or anything like that yet. It's just like you can feel the palpable connection between them, and then the movie ends. Like that chapter ends, and then it's like, where do they go from there? Like, what's the sequel? What comes next? And it's like that's where you're at right now with this full energy wrapping things up. This very open space where everything is full of potential and wonder, even, and excitement. And Aries loves being in this energy. Like Aries loves being at the beginning of things because it's exciting. There's so many different things that you can do, so many different places you can go, so many new people that you can meet. Like Aries loves new, fresh. It's this fresh energy. And I feel like it's much long awaited, much warranted after all this mess. And you've come out the other side much better equipped than you were before. So don't look back on any of that with scorn. Look back on it with appreciation, because you wouldn't be where you are now without having gone through that. And even if your circumstances aren't quite in the best place yet, you're stronger now than you were then because of it. And now there's even greater potential for you to change and shift your reality into something that's better. So be excited about that. Have faith and trust in yourself, if in nothing else. Wishing you the best, Aries.